Hello, hello! Today I will be featuring another destroyer in ranked. This time one who plays very differently, the Anshan. The Anshan, just like the Shinonome, was one of my top picks for this season of ranked. And just like with the Shinonome, I have had some great success with this destroyer. Now, the Anshan is especially good at going for the off cap. That is to say, the rest of your team goes for one cap and the Anshan goes for the off cap. That is often a very strong move to make in this ship, mostly because it's insanely fast. Just like Russian DDs, it is much faster than any IGN or US DDs, meaning you can always flee any sort of situation with relative ease. You notice that I'm saving my speed boost for the actual kiting away than instead of trying to engage with it, because I don't mind the enemy team going for A cap first. All I want to do is delay them. That is, I want to torp them, I want to shoot and reset the cap a couple of times, basically giving our team a nice little advantage at the start in the form of getting the cap much faster than the enemy gets their cap. Also, ideally I want to make them focus and chase me, because on this map especially, if the cruisers start chasing me, the rest of my team can shoot them quite a bit. I will also try to spot for my team. So I'm already spotting some things for them, for example this Nuremberg, spotting that for my team, which is of course a huge advantage since the Nuremberg is very squishy. The cap starts turning, I drop preemptive torps around the corner and I already start turning away since I expect the DDs to pop around. One DD pops around, but my torps weren't really meant for him, as there's 3 DDs, so I'm expecting additional DDs to be coming out behind him or potentially the cruisers. So the Farragut picks a fight, and you see how I'm sailing. You sail away from your enemy, and you bring all 4 of your guns to bear backwards. And you see I'm kiting away, I'm doing 38, 39 knots. They struggle to hit me, and everyone on my team is shooting this Farragut. The Fubuki that came behind, he was the victim of my preemptive torps that I launched, so we already got an early kill, and I keep resetting and delaying this cap. I'm spotting both the cruisers, who would love to hide behind this island and be in line of sight from my battleships and cruisers, but I am spotting them for my team and they're trying to shoot me, they're trying to chase me. And I'm more than happy about this. You see, my team is constantly hammering them, they're constantly shooting them. The Cleveland, half HP. Nuremberg, down to 4k health. They are being slaughtered because they are chasing me. I am the #1 distraction right now. So many people trying to kill me, and of course here comes one of the issues with this tier 6 ranked, and that is that battleships are very slow. So if you manage to engage the enemy at the cap right at the start, the battleships don't really have time to impact the battle, because they haven't even made it here yet. They have to go full speed from the start, and honestly battleships tend to rarely do that. They tend to drag their feet quite a lot, so you can see just how out of position the enemy battleships are. And the Farragut, I kill him. Look at my health. I still have 12k health left. And this is a 12-point captain, since I'm playing on my NA account. So I only got like last stand, health perk, and concealment expert, and I think turret traverse? I might have turret traverse, yeah. Turret traverse or AR. I think I might go on for turret traverse before AR, since turret traverse is so incredibly important on the Anshan. So 2 DDs dead. Both the cruisers are almost dead, thanks to me. I'm now spotting the Cleveland for my team, and they are dead because they tried to focus me. They tried to hunt me and kill me, and this is what you want in the Anshan. Much like, for example, the Kaba, or any sort of Russian DD, you don't really mind if people try to shoot you. You want them to like waste time trying to focus you and trying to kill you. Now, ideally in this situation, you could pull back and go and support your team, to support them with smokes and such, but because we have a Farragut and we have a Shinonome as well, this is a 3DD game, so my team should be more than well taken care of when it comes to the smoke issue. So instead of going back and help supporting them with smokes, I'm just going to support them with spotting as much as possible, because I'm already so far behind the enemy lines that I can spot for my team quite efficiently. I'm keeping the Cleveland spotted constantly, and I'll try to see if I can perhaps keep the Nuremberg spotted. Nuremberg is trying to reverse into cover, and I'm gonna see if we can maybe either kill him by shooting him or just by getting him spotted for my team. He did actually get unspotted there, which is amusing, but then I came around the corner and spotted him. So this guy could have lived a bit longer, but because I came around the corner, he's gonna die. get very unfortunate with my shells here, a lot of non-shatters, but the Nuremberg gets killed thanks to my spotting there, not so much thanks to my shooting in this case. The Cleveland, of course, I spotted him moving in here all the way, so our Cleveland is more than happy to engage him in a fight, and our Cleveland has 30k, their Cleveland has 6k, so that's gonna be a pretty one-sided fight. I drop torps on the Fuso, that's full HP, and I just start supporting my team in shooting this Arizona. They don't need spotting with this, not surprisingly the Cleveland goes down in that 1 versus 1. And in general, in any sort of DD in ranked, you don't really want to be wasting time sitting in your own smoke and shooting. This is usually considered fairly selfish play, because any other ship will do so much more with your smoke than you'll do. There are exceptions, of course, if you're shooting a DD, for example, and you have to hide from the enemy. But in general, just sitting in a smoke and farming damage is considered quite stupid, because the only one really benefiting here is you. Smoking up your teammates is usually better, but this is a bit of a different situation because I'm so close to these guys. They are already smoked up, I got torpedoes out, and I'm honestly a massive distraction. My team is pretty amused that these 2 battleships are chasing me. They say, wow, 2 BBs chasing a DD, but that's kind of they can't ignore me either. These guys cannot ignore the fact that they have a DD in their backs. They have to deal with it. I'm constantly trying to keep in the move in the smoke. You see, I'm not sitting still because of possible stealth fire, and more important, possible torps from this Fubuki. There is 6 torps, which means the Fubuki still has 1 volley left. I'm tempted to torp these battleships, but I think it's more important that I save my torps for this DD that's somewhere around, and there he is. I proximity spotting. 1 preemptive torp to right, in case he turns that way. He doesn't, so I save the other one to ensure I get a hit. And he does some good dodging, only eating 1 torpedo, but all I need to do now is turn away. I pop my speed boost to make sure I can dodge these torps. He attempts to hit me with the torps, but I'm in full move and moving away from him, which makes it quite easy to dodge any incoming torpedoes. And now I just turn my guns slowly towards him. A bit small mistake here, I actually have AP loaded. I didn't realize because I switched to AP to punish the broadside New Mexico or Arizona, so I actually end up killing him with the AP instead of HE. It doesn't really change much in this case, because he would have died regardless. So at this point the game is pretty much over. My team says nice carry Anshan. Of course I'm on my NA account, so they don't really know who I am since my name is just renamed user, but always appreciate the compliment. And well, the Fuso's just left. I'm gonna see if I can YOLO ram him pretty much at this point. They're asking if I am 19-point captain, but this is just a 12-point captain, because, well, NA account, I haven't had time to level the Anshan much at all. So this game at this point is of course over. A fairly short, fairly quick game. This was my first win of the day. Only 43k damage, but the impact on this game was probably fairly obvious. Killed both DDs, got both cruisers crippled or killed, and the battleships wasted time trying to chase me with their slow speed, even killed the 3rd DD at the end, so obviously a very, very hard carry in this case. Team score wise, tells quite the story, of course. Almost 1.9k XP, and a bunch of compliments from my NA teammates. This was in the 10 to 15 bracket, so a fairly nice game and a fairly short one, in this case 8 minutes long. But let me show you an example of what happens when you go for the off cap, but the enemy doesn't show up, since that's of course also a possibility. Right, moving right along, we have the new map in this case, and once again I'm telling my team, all of the team, go to B, and I'll go and scout or potentially cap the off cap, since once again the benefits of the Anshan is the much faster speed. Worth noting though that this is on my Asian account, so there are some significant constraints I'm working with here. First of all, my ping is around 190 milliseconds, which is actually quite crippling. World of Warships isn't a very ping heavy game, but it does have an impact on when it starts going well over 150, I've noticed. You start getting some issues with some commands not really being registered, and sometimes you pull the trigger to shoot your guns or shoot your torps, and nothing happens. You have to like do it a couple times for the thing to get through and so forth. So that is a bit of a constraint. But probably the bigger constraint in this fact is that because this is on my Asian account, which I have barely played at all, my Anshan only has a 6-point captain. So I have preventive maintenance, I think, and I have last stand, and I have the HP perk, which is of course the basic of the build for any Russian DD, which Anshan kinda counts as, not entirely because it's a better hybrid. So I don't have a concealment expert, and this is of course highly important because one of the strengths of the Anshan is that it has such great concealment for a gunboat type of ship. So I'm actually running around with 7 km concealment here. So that's why in this case I pop speed boost when I enter the cap, and that's because if I face someone, I can't just sit and wait for them to come to me as I did in the game earlier. I let the Farragut come around the corner and pop and approach me. Instead I have to approach them with the speed boost, because otherwise they can just sit and use their spotting advantage against me. But if you're charging in with speed boost towards them, it's impossible for the enemy team to avoid being spotted. They will spot me first of course, but if they're sailing towards me and I sail towards them with speed boost, I will get them spotted as well, because you can't turn around fast enough to avoid it. However, in this case, as I said, this is a different type of game. They decide to go to the other cap. So when this happens, of course, I secure the cap as soon as possible. That's why you want to be fairly aggressive. You don't want to skirt around, because if it happens that there's no one here, you don't want to be wasting time. No, I secure the cap as soon as possible for my team, and then I'm going to go move on and help the rest of my team, of course. That is priorities here. You secure the cap, which is important for winning the game, and then you go and help your team. Now, the disadvantage of not having the concealment expert is of course going to be significant here. I'm telling my team to focus the DDs. This is something Battleship especially seem to struggle with. And here we see something that is very common this ranked season, and that is cruisers dying first, which should never happen. You see our Cleveland pushing in. I'm telling, please don't charge in as a cruiser, you'll just die. You should never be in the front line as a cruiser. Cruisers should be hiding behind islands, using cover, and bringing their DPM to bear. They are not tanks. There's no real tank cruiser at tier 6. I mean, even the Graf Spee is completely paper. Yes, it has a heal, but it still can't take any damage. However, I get quite lucky in the sense that this Farragut is shooting and turning around, so that I actually come out from a surprising angle, and we catch this Farragut completely off guard with the Fubuki. So obviously I'm going to be trying to gun him down as much as possible. And well, if we could get a kill, that would be great, because they have killed off our Cleveland. So I harass him as much as possible. I will probably ground. You see I checked in the front, I'm probably going to be grounding, so I'm going to be forced to use the smoke here, but I'm pretty okay with that if I can trade it with a lot of damage on this Farragut. So I do ground, and I pop my smoke, because I want to break line of sight. I don't want to be spotted here. And at this point the Fubuki keeps pushing, which I don't really agree with, because we should be helping our team. We need to be spotting the enemy Fubuki, we need to be scouting for torps, we need to be smoking them. In general, I'm already about to turn around and go and help them, but then we spot the Farragut, who's apparently trying to make some sort of move on the enemy Fubuki, which is very questionable. I guess he thinks he can, I have already left, or I've turned around. I'm not entirely certain what his plan is, but he's trying to kill my Fubuki, so of course I'm gonna capitalize on this, and I'm gonna punish him for it. Because you can't let this happen. Of course, it's smart. The idea of killing the enemy Fubuki as a Farragut is a smart idea, but he chose the wrong time to do it. Wrong time, wrong position. He realizes now that there's a lot more firepower than he expected, and he's turning around, but it's too late since I kill him off. The Yoba was also on this flank. Once again, this isn't necessarily a bad move from our Yoba, the whole flank and harass from another angle and kill DDs from another angle. This is perfectly okay play from a cruiser, because once again, the only ones who should be pushing straight for the cap are the battleships. Cruisers can flank, can use terrain. In general, cruisers can play a lot more pussy. are straight up like more cowardly than battleships can in ranked, because they are so incredibly squishy, they die so easily that the whole purpose, it's much more important that a cruiser stays alive for a long time and is able to bring a lot of DPS to bear than he tries to push somewhere and gets instantly deleted. So I've seen some people complain, like I've seen battleships complain that a cruiser is hiding behind an island and spamming, but that's just stupid. They are able to bring so much more damage to bear the longer they stay alive, so of course it's good for them to play like this. So please don't be that battleship that complains about your cruiser hiding somewhere. As long as he's able to shoot, as long as he's able to bring his guns to bear and he's burning down enemies, he's doing a good job. So that's not something you should be complaining about. Now though, I finally go back to what I wanted to be doing, and that's helping my team to spot the enemy DD. They have been struggling here with this Fubuki. Since our Fubuki is going on an adventure, I have to take this role. Ideally it should be the other way around, because I don't have concealment expert, but I'm using the terrain here and I'm going to see if I can maybe spot the Fubuki by coming around the corner, and I actually managed to do that. So I'm going to reset this cap as soon as possible. I managed to get the full reset on the cap and I'm spotting the Fubuki, which is of course great. The reason this is especially great is because they still don't have a cap, and this entire time the cap advantage that I got our team at the start, capping A, has been benefiting us extremely greatly. You can see we're already 500 points in the lead, and that's just because of my early capture of A. So I managed to spot the Fubuki, and now of course I'm gonna try to use my smokes to help my team. Ideally though, I would love this Galissonier to die. I kind of want to get rid of this guy. I'm keeping him spotted to make sure my team can see him, but I would love to see this guy get killed off. Note that I had to wait for my detection debuff to disappear before I came around the corner, because if you charge in with your detection debuff in full power, that's a good way to get yourself killed very quickly. And the Fuso spread went all around me because I was undetected, so he kind of just blind fired. Now my plan here is, of course, I want to smoke up the Warspite. I want to smoke up my Fuso, who's very low. Smoking up both the battleships that are, in general, in very good position. I like the positioning of my two battleships. They are pushing the cap. They are sitting right next to the cap where they can defend and protect it. However, the enemy Fubuki has been launching preemptive torps at our Fuso, and this really screws up my plan because I was forced to break. So instead of being able to glide all the way to this island and create this perfect smoke wall that would have covered both my battleships, I was forced to emergency brake to make sure I don't eat those torps. And because of that, of course, I'm not able to cover him with this smoke. However, my Warspite does understand that, and he gets into the smoke, and our Fuso will be able to accelerate and get into my smoke eventually. Because of course I smoked in front of him, so it makes it easy for him to glide into it if needed. But it wasn't the perfect smoke I would have wanted, but it was more important to dodge the torps than get the perfect smoke off. I reverse out of the smoke, even though I know I'll get detected by the Bayern, simply to spot the Fubuki for my team and see if we could maybe get some damage done. I'm still not happy with our friendly Fubuki. You see how far away he's sailing. He is he's not using his... When you do this kind of flanking maneuvers that the Fubuki is doing, I don't really like it, because he's not bringing his great concealment to bear at all. He has the best concealment of all of us here on the server, and he's not able to use that against the enemy Fubuki because he's so far away. Second of all, his smokes have absolutely no impact on the game, and when we have 2 DDs and they have 1, we should be able to bring 2 smokes to bear, which would give our team a significant smoke advantage. But sitting as far back as he is, of course he can't smoke up anyone, so he is being fairly useless in that sense. Now, at this point the Bayern is gonna eat my torps and he's going to die. However, we have a really good advantage. We have a capture point lead, we're about to get this cap. There's no reason for us to push, and I don't really like the fact that our Warspite is pushing in, because there is a Fubuki in that smoke, and that Warspite is spotted, probably thanks to the enemy Fuso, so it's only a matter of time before he's gonna eat torps at this point. I really don't like his positioning at all. I'm reversing away. The Fuso spots me, of course, because once again, a 7 km concealment, not 6, because I don't have concealment expert, but I'll be able to cap it before he can shoot. And I'm accelerating into cover now. And here is the problem, as I said, the Warspite, as predicted, eats all the torps in the entire game because, well, he pushed towards the smoked DD, and that's not something you should generally do. Like, if you're forced to do that, you're in a terrible position to begin with, your team is probably heavily down, you are struggling, and it's a very risky position, and there was no need to put himself into that position because we had a good lead. Now the Yoba is behind me, and I do spot the Fuso here, so I figure I can take his attention and then smoke up. Hopefully the Yoba will just glide into my smoke or park behind my smoke and use that to his advantage. That is at least the idea. However, the Yoba behind me isn't slowing down. He's actually going full speed past my smoke, and I'm not entirely certain what his plan is, but it's pretty unnecessary. And the idea was, of course, if we park close to this island, we should be able to torp anyone who comes around the corner, but my Yoba is turning out and for some reason not using my smoke at all. He does get the kill on the Fuso, but huge risk to take in a ship like that. The Yoba eats citadels like crazy. I've played that ship on sea, and it's very, very squishy, and it's not one of the ships. It's one of the ships that I said from the start would be quite bad for ranked, and having played it myself quite a lot in ranked, I think it's terrible for ranked. It's too squishy, and it doesn't bring enough DPM to bear. It has not enough utility. It's just a very, very risky, and honestly, you're making life unnecessarily hard for yourself if you try to play ranked with the Yoba. There's no real point to it. Waiting for the Fuso. Looks pretty good. One volley. Note that I only launched one volley, but the other one is on cooldown still, but I want to keep saving it and I want to play it safe. As long as I keep a 2 kilometer distance, 2 or more, 2.1 actually or more, I won't be spotted by this Fuso because that's the proximity distance that he can spot me from. So the first volley causes him to forces the repair. In case he dodges these, I only need to really hit one to kill him with flooding, but there's no real need because, well, he slowed down so much because he was forced to repair, and I'm easily able to land all 3 torps and kill him. In this case, I turn around and, of course, start fighting the enemy Fubuki instantly, who has managed to cap B. Our Fubuki finally decides to take part in actual battle more than just sitting back and torping. Ideally, he should have been doing this significantly sooner because he was the only one who could spot the Fubuki at the same time the Fubuki could spot him. He didn't have the massive spotting disadvantage that I had because of the captain. Still though, it doesn't matter, we do get the kill, and they actually lose out on points in this case, and the game ends. So even though there were some questionable decisions being made on the way, we still managed to secure the win. So this was a bit different than the other Anshan game, but ultimately still the Anshan just shows how strong of a ship it can be. 85k damage. Once again, I think this was my first win of the day, this time on the Asian server, since I do like getting my daily wins in ranked. And this was at the worst, significantly worse rank, hence probably some of the very questionable plays from my team. But considering most people are probably still not entering into the high ranks, I mean, I've been taking it fairly easy on my main account, and I'm only rank 7 on it yet, so I don't think there's any need to get into rank 1 to 5 gameplay quite yet. Detailed report wise, we have, of course, let's see, mostly torp damage, not surprising, but a fair amount of gun damage as well. But most of the gun damage was, of course, aimed at the enemy DDs. Very little actual gun damage or damage done on the enemy battleships, and that's because you in general don't do too much damage to them. So trying to sit in a smoke yourself and spam battleships in this ship is mostly a waste of time. You want to be using your smokes for your teammates as much as possible. However, in the game I just showed, I only had one. Well, honestly, I didn't think I had any real good smokes. When I tried to smoke up both battleships, I got stopped by torps, and when I hoped to smoke up the Yoba, he turned away and didn't use my smoke. So, so much for that demonstration. Regardless, though, that was my Yoba Anshan examples. Let's move on to my recommended build for this ship. Now, before I start off, I do want to mention that when you go for the off cap, please don't get too greedy. That's one of the main advice I have. If you manage to force a smoke, you manage to hit the DDs a couple times and reset the cap and delay it, that's all you need to do. Don't overstay your welcome, because if you go for the off cap and you end up losing half your health, or you end up even worse being killed, then the whole point of being the distraction has kind of gone out the window. That's counter beneficial. The enemy team gains an advantage by being able to do so much damage to you. So number one rule when you rush that off cap into Anshan, don't get yourself killed. And second of all, if you're the only DD in the game, then don't go for the off cap. Of course, you have to be the one who goes and helps at the main cap. Also, if the enemy has, for example, 2 gunboats, or they have an Anshan of their own, it might be worth staying with the main team instead. And especially if, let's say, you have an Hatsuharu on your team, you need to go support your Hatsuharu at the main cap, because if you send an Hatsuharu alone into a cap and the enemy has, let's say, a Fubuki or a Shinonome and something else, let's say Gaede, Hanshan, whatever there, that Hatsuharu is going to get bullied, most likely killed, and just forced out of the cap, and your team is going to have no chance of contesting it. So don't just automatically assume you should always rush the off cap on the Anshan. You gotta consider what your team has first, and if your friendly DD needs some help. Anyway, moving on. Anshan. First of all, get the upgraded torps, the 8km ones, because these 4km ones are completely useless. Consumable wise, you should be able to afford premium ones, all of these. If you can't afford premium speed boost, that's the one you can go with the pleb one, so to say. Upgrade wise, main armaments mod 1, better gun accuracy, speed boost mod. This is of course optimal. I didn't have this, I think, on either of the 2 accounts, but that was because I was playing on NA and Asia, whereas this is my main account where I of course have all the goodies. And finally, of course, a rudder shift to get that speedy rudder shift. Alternatively, you can run propulsion mod. That is also okay. The rudder shift is fairly good on it even without this, but I prefer running rudder shift especially when I have the speed boost module. Captain perks wise, first priority is absolutely preventive maintenance, so you don't lose engine, steering, guns, followed by last stand, followed by survivability expert, followed by concealment expert. That's the basic build. And then I would probably go for expert marksman. If you can't afford expert marksman, this is important. If you cannot afford expert marksman, then you should be replacing aiming with main battery, because otherwise your turret traverse is so horrible. It's 30 seconds by default, and it becomes too clumsy to be able to use. So if you can't afford expert marksman yet, then use main battery mod 2. Now, if you get expert marksman, then you can follow it up by getting adrenaline rush. And once you have this build, then you can build into RPF, which of course makes it even easier to contest these off caps, since you know if someone is coming or not. You already know in advance what's going to happen, if you're going to be facing someone at the off cap or not. And finally, with the last point, priority target, letting you know how many people are targeting you. With how much damage Battleship AP does to your DD, it's really good to know if multiple people are targeting you and knowing that you need to disengage. Anyway, and finally, of course, flag wise, if you're playing ranked, you should be running priority number 1, a detonation flag, followed by speed flag, since of course speed is your bread and butter on the ship, followed up with fire chances on the main guns, and faster consumable usage. That's pretty much the base that you want to be running. Anyway, that was my Anshan commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.